What it is, my Tenno, Peace and Grease here, and I know I've been radio silent for the past couple of weeks. Well, I watched the whole DE versus Raytalius incident kind of unfold and unravel. In case, to summarize, if you want my 2 cents on it, Raytalius is right. DE, you're wrong. Stop trying to truth shame Raytalius. These are your choices, your decisions that you have refused to make. Not for days, not for weeks, not for months, but years, DE. Suck it up, apologize, and stop being a child about it. Period. The end. That's all I have to say about it. But if you haven't checked out Raytalius' vid, I highly recommend you do so because you really need to for reference. But with all of that said, I basically wanted to comment on the potential nerf of the Itzal Archwing. Now, if you haven't watched the latest dev stream, I obviously recommend you should watch the dev stream to really kind of understand the impact and what I'm referring to. But basically, Scott proposed that he was going to nerf the Itzal on the premise that it, quote-unquote, removed player choice. Scott, my dude, what do you think gilding does? Now, if you're not familiar with my stance on gilding, the big picture and the thing that I've always complained about back when the Plains of Eidolon first came out was that gilding removes player choice. Because, for example, when I built this initial Zaw, which is a Plague Star Zaw, I didn't build it stupidly on my own part. Didn't build it out of a staff. And unfortunately, I didn't like it. But I didn't have the MR for it. So what did I have to do? I had to continue to use it if I wanted the MR from it. So I had no choice, i.e., it removed my player choice. I had none. If I wanted the MR, I had to use it. Now, fast forward to Fortuna, and DE, you've gone hog wild on gilding, as my Gilded Nightmare video about Fortuna talks about. All of these things remove player choice. In fact, I have to laugh because there was another content creator, and I won't say who it was, but after I released my video, they came out and said, oh, well, K drives, you don't get MR for them. They're not gilded. You don't have to worry about gilding them if you don't want to because you don't get MR for them. Really? Interesting. So you don't get MR for K drives. Okay. That's an interesting stance, I suppose. Although, facts would differ. Because here we have K drives. Not one, but all 3 of them. The Bad Baby, the Needle Nose, and the Runway are all in the profile. Now, shortly thereafter, that content creator then said, well, this is a bug, and DE will be removing them. Really? Because they're all 3 still here. What does this mean? Quite simply, if you're like myself and you absolutely loathe K drives, tough shit. You want the MR for them, you better use them. Removing my player choice. I hate K drives. And listen, if you like K drives, that's totally fine. All right? I'm just saying from my personal stance, my personal viewpoint on the matter, I hate K drives. I can't stand them. I think they're goofy, I think they're stupid, and that's me personally. I don't have any appreciation for them, and very rarely do I use them because I can't stand them. But I don't have a choice. If I want the MR for them, I must use them. So Scott, my dude, if player choice is that important to you, what's up with this gilded mess? If I build an amp I don't like, and I want the MR for it, tough. I better use it. If I build a Zaw, if I build a K drive, if I build a MOA, if I build a kit gun, and I don't like it, but I still want the MR from it, I've got to use it. So let me point out the obvious here that Scott isn't getting when it comes to stats. Now, if you look at my profile, you're going to see pretty quickly that for me personally, I use the Itzal the most. All right? But why is the question? What do the stats not tell DE about the Itzal? Well, Prior to open world, the number one reason that the majority of the people use the Itzal in Archwing was for this ability right here. The third ability, Cosmic Crush. Why? Why Cosmic Crush? Because vacuum in Archwing missions sucks donkey balls. There's no polite way to put it. You lose and leave behind so much loot and resources because the vacuum is atrocious in Archwing missions. So to combat that, we as a community start using the Itzal because of Cosmic Crush. We make sure we get all of our loot in those Archwing missions. And Cosmic Crush was like the old mag, where it drew all of the loot towards you. But this is the number one reason why the majority of players use it. And I can tell you for a fact, me, myself, and all of my online friends all use the Itzal and Archwing missions for Cosmic Crush. Now your stats don't tell you that, Scott. Now open world has changed that. Because now we have to get a bounty and we have to travel long distances to complete that bounty, and then we have to go all the way back to the starting point to acquire another bounty from the bounty givers. And the quickest way to do that is an Archwing. And a lot of players are proposing, well, can you bring the K drives up to speed with the Archwings? And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think they should. Absolutely not. That would be just stupid. Let's face facts. If you're driving in a car someplace versus flying in a plane, what's going to get there first? The plane, obviously, because you're not having to traverse the terrain. Whereas with an aircraft, you can just fly over it. So the Archwing should always be faster than a K-drive. Always. Because it's common sense. If, for some moronic reason, DE decided to bring the K-drives up to the same speed as Archwings, it'd be foolish, needless to say. But the simple fact is, when you look at the Itzal, 3 of its 4 abilities are great. Blink, Penumbra, Cosmic Crush, fantastic. Yeah, fighter escort's kind of shit. They don't do enough damage. The drones are just inadequate. Second of all, a lot of the time they'll bug out in a mission and get stuck at their spawn point, and then they spend most of their time at the spawn point before they ever catch up, and then by the time they do catch up, they just don't do enough damage. So yeah, fighter escorts, yeah, it's kind of shit. But the other 3 abilities are great. Nerfing Blink on the premise that it removes player choice is just stupid. I'm sorry, there's just no polite way to put it. It's just moronic at best. So instead of doing this whole just silly, let's nerf this, let's nerf that, why don't you bring the other Archwings up to the level of the Itzal? And I don't think that's really too much to ask. I mean, I can tell you that I absolutely loathed Archwing. This was prior to the Plains of Eidolon being released, the open worlds. And I absolutely hated Archwing. And it was largely due to the Odinata. I thought the Odinata abilities were just trash. You know? The Amisha, the Electron, they're okay. In fact, if I'm running like the Jordas Precept, if I'm helping someone out, for example, I don't use the Itzal. I tend to use the Electron more than anything. If I'm using like a mobile defense mission, Archwing mission, I'll use the Amisha. But I don't tend to run a lot of Archwing missions if I don't have to. And I think if DE just left the Archwings alone and let Railjack release, I think you would find a larger variety of all of the Archwings being used. But I don't think nerfing, I never think nerfing is the answer. I always think that bringing the other items, the other equipment up to the same level as something is the ideal way to go. And I think you can do that, and you can do it safely without quote-unquote breaking anything. So, needless to say, that's my take on the whole proposed Itzal, Ripzal nerf. Don't do it. Just don't do it. It just doesn't make sense to do so. And the premise that you're going to nerf the Itzal is just wrong. Because if you're going to use the player choice argument as an excuse, then you have to bring up the whole gilding issue. And that, hey, that removes player choice. What are you going to do about it, DE? Because if you're going to nerf the Itzal over it, then you damn sure better stay consistent. You better not be sporadic and go, well, removing player choice on gilding is totally fine. But removing player choice on Archwings, that's bad. That's bad. You can't have it one way and the other. All right, it's got to be consistent across the board. So, that's my 2 cents. That's my take on the proposed Ripzal Itzal nerf. What do you guys think in the comment section down below? Let me know. And until next time, peace and grease.